Okay. I want to thank you for everyone being here. I didn't quite hear. John, did you say sophomore?
Yeah, right.
Devin is actually a true freshman, which we don't want to push too fast to get him to that second year. He's having a very, very solid year for us, and certainly excited about having him here as one of our guests and representing our football program. Where we at right now? Certainly looking at a lot of things very carefully and evaluating our program. What we saw Saturday was a team that that competed for 4 quarters. Really felt good about the way our kids were competing all the way at the end. 18 play drive late in the game, trying to get right back into it. We had a couple missed opportunities we talked about. Statistically, we held Pitt to its lowest total of the year offensively. So our defense did a great job. It was the first time this year, the lowest total rushing yards in a game, and held Ray Graham, who I know most coaches and most people would consider him and as a very highly regarded tailback and runner, to 74 yards, and the longest carry he had was 8 yards. So we were pleased that we were trying to take that aspect out. Tino Sincere, the quarterback, had as one of its lowest totals of the day, but at the end of the day, it was turnovers again. We hurt ourselves there. They came back and scored off of that. Special teams is another area, which those two statistics always interfere with the field position. We have not been on a shorter field than our opponent all year. There's only been one game, and it's been our one game that we've had a better field position than Morgan State, and that was by 1 yard. Every other game, we've hurt ourselves in that aspect. But we're out, we're out doing things offensively and defensively by first downs. We're out totaling people, total yards out totaling people, out rushing teams, doing things of that nature. We got to score points, and we've got to take better care of the ball, and we got to get the ball taken away, and that's been a big part of it. We've only had 3 takeaways this year, and turned the ball over too much. So with special teams, field position, turnovers, the little things that matter in terms of producing wins certainly have to be addressed, and we continue getting better. And certainly, this week we're going to play a very formidable opponent in Toledo. If you look at the 4 games that we played in the MAC, and this team as one of the 4, they combined a total of 3 losses. And that's going to be a great test for our coaches and our players against a very good football team in Toledo. They got a lot of great players, sound and fundamental schemes, and they've got a nice, season going right now. And they beat Cincinnati. Now Cincinnati was very interesting that they out-totaled them in rushing, passing, total yards. Difference is Toledo scores 29 points without one single offensive score, which is very interesting. You got a pretty good doggone ball club if you can put up that many points without an offensive score. 5 field goals, an interception for a touchdown, and a kickoff return. So, watching what we did on Saturday and knowing where our team is and knowing who our opponent is this week is our main focus. Take it 1 week at a time. We're back home, or we have 5 MAC games, and 3 out of the last 5 are at home. So I know our kids are excited about playing and getting that win under our belt, and we need to do it this week. Questions?
Jeff, can you start with just an injury update, club status, Alan Booth's status, and anybody else?
Yep. And it's been interesting too. Is our 3 of our top 4 scoring players have been out, either 1 game, 3 games, or 5 games. Bo's been out for 5 games. Brandon Meary has been out for 3. And we certainly know that Alex Nutz, we missed his services on Saturday too, but they're all better, and we fully anticipate all 3 of those guys being involved in the game plan this week, and hopefully give us some play out on that field against Toledo.
With Murray, how much was he hampered by that? Because he was on the kick return team.
Mm-hmm.
Has there been any thought to maybe like utilizing him as a slot receiver, using him in other ways? I mean, we haven't gotten a whole lot out of Dixon, to this point.
Well, it's not so much the speed is there's a different skill set being out there. I think we have better answers, than from that standpoint in terms of moving him out to a wide receiver position. But there are ways, and obviously as Brandon continues to get better and healthier, we continue looking at ways to get the ball to him, along with Devin, and Bo and Alex Nutz. Those guys are definitely a big part of our thought process, and we've got to do that in order for us to put ourselves in a better scoring position. But Brandon's been, he keeps getting better, and he was out there Saturday as a kick returner. But I don't think putting him at a wide receiver is the answer at this point. We need Cordero definitely to step up and make some more plays. We saw that in Dunmore. And some of that's not only just Cordero. Cordero's doing some things with, in terms of special teams, but, sometimes it's the way they roll coverages, sometimes the way a play's designed, so on and so forth. And he's in a position a little different than what Dunmore was in. And Dunmore was replacing Nutz, and so those are little things that can certainly, change a little bit of a guy's ability to produce. And it's not that Cordero's not doing anything to help us. He's doing a lot of things that clear things out, to try to take the top off coverage, try to open some things up for some other guys, and that's what he's been able to do. And so he may have less opportunities to catch the ball and the ball thrown to him. But he's been blocking well, and that's been a big reason why, a true freshman like Devin had 104 yards, first true freshman. So, there's other things that these guys are doing.
What would you say is Toledo's team speed, particularly on the offensive end, the biggest concern?
It's in all their whole team. They've got a lot of good speed. If you watch them, Reedy's an outstanding football player. I mean, he's we have to be very conscientious as to how we address him in terms of the ball in his possession. Especially in special teams. When it comes to offense, there's that's a phase that there's we got to do a great job. In terms of keeping him under control, which is not easy, and nobody's really had a great answer for him. Just because he's been blessed with a lot of skill, he's a lot of speed and explosiveness, good football player, and he's got some other guys that are surrounding him. So, but they do it, on defense. They have a veteran group of defensive players, a lot of seniors, guys that are very active, very aggressive, and I think that's going to be a great challenge for our offense. Be able to, ball control and take our shots when those shots become available. Be very mindful of where we are on the field, but it's special teams. If you look at last week, Cincinnati jumps up by 1 point in that game, and the next thing that happens is, he takes it, for a 91-yard touchdown return on a kickoff. So those are things that, good football teams have weapons every single snap, whether it's on offense, defense, and special teams. And that's what we're trying to do, is continue creating that mindset. It'll be nice to get our players back that are of that caliber and give us some explosive playmaking ability.
You spend a little more time on special teams this week by nature of the challenge of the opponent? Is that, or do you do it the same way you normally would?
Yeah, we put as much time as anybody in special teams, Paul. And there's been one game that we competed against Connecticut. They had a real nice returner, and we did a nice job managing that. And we're going to need our players understand what the game plan is, what our thoughts are as coaches, get that translated into them, and see that executed on the field. But we certainly are trying to minimize their explosive playmaking ability, especially out of Reedy, so he doesn't get you beat in special teams, and that's what hurt them last week against Cincinnati.
Coach, we talked about it. Is there a team that compares speed-wise? Where you'll see from it?
Georgia, Northern Illinois, there's some pretty good football teams. When you look at the 4 MAC teams that we've played, we've seen Kent, Ohio, Northern, and Toledo, and a combined of those 4 have 3 losses. That's pretty impressive. Kentucky beat Kent State, and Arizona beat Toledo, and by 1 point, Iowa got Northern. So, some of the best teams that we're faced in our schedule this year are right in our conference, you know, and particularly the 2 crossover games that we play. You know, we play 3 crossover games over to the west, and we're playing 3 of the top of that side. You know, Toledo Northern and upcoming will be Western.
Well, Devin, you know, it's been obviously a successful start for you to your career. What have you found to be the most difficult challenges in trying to get? Has there been anything that you feel that way about?
No. I feel like I'm, just come out and playing football. That's all you got to do. Come up here, and everybody's bigger. So, I mean, you just got to adjust to getting the hit and, the speed of the game. But once you do that, it's the same.
Devin, I know Coach told you when he recruited you that there's no decisions made about redshirting and all, but are you even surprised at the amount you played this year coming in as a true freshman? Would you ever imagine that you could have been as big a part of the offense as you have been?
Well, that's what I wanted to come up here and do. I wanted to be a contributor as fast as possible. And when he told me that, he doesn't redshirt freshman, I was like, this is a perfect opportunity to go and try to prove what I can do before, a decision is made determining if I'm going to play or not. So.
Have you had a lot of conversations with Bo pregame? Does Bo try to lend his expertise, I guess?
Yeah, Bo, he reiterates the game plan that Coach Simon sets up for us. He just tells me, all my reads and all my routes and everything, just trying to keep me fresh and keep me calm before the game.
Do you have a play that's your favorite?
Our sweep play.
Good play?
When I get to come in motion and go to the outside.
If you have them, if Bo's back and healthy, and now that you've seen what he can do, is there thoughts of trying to utilize both of them more? Same backfield? I mean, you did some of that.
Right. Right, and we did that, and so that's still in our thought process. Look, I'm not against playing the best players. I mean, believe me, that's always been my philosophy, is put the best ones on the field. If you got a lot of good ones, play them all, and try to find ways to get those kids to utilize their talents and abilities, and that's what we did earlier. Unfortunately, when Bo went down in that first half of the Kent State game, we saw Brandon and Devin do a great job of picking up that slack that we had with Bo, and then when Brandon went down after the UConn game, it kind of limited us a little bit. But you limit yourself when you don't have a Potts and you don't have a Boomer Brock, which are another big part of it. But I think what we're excited about is just being able to get these guys back. That's something that we've been working extremely hard. It's been day to day. It's been a long day to day process with Bo, but we do have a number of things that we want to see out of Bo. But also with the fact that not taking away opportunities that Devin does present and gives us opportunities along with Brandon. So we feel good about where our program is, and getting those guys back is going to be a huge boost to our offensive production.
Jeff, Devin was playing before Bo got hurt. What was it about him, whether it was strictly his talent or whether it's other qualifications, that made you make that decision even before the season started that he was going to be a true freshman?
Great question, because as I recruit these young men, I've made it clear, and you pointed out that we don't redshirt freshmen until after the season. I just know, being in this business for 29 years, you never know when you need to have some freshmen step up and help you play and compete, maybe in special teams, number one, maybe on offense, maybe on defense. And what I said to Devin and all the freshmen is, hey, make yourself noticed. Every day you walk on that practice field, look, everybody gets an opportunity to play and compete, and we're going to challenge you and present those opportunities, and what you need to do is show what you're all about. And a very mature young man, comes from a great family. I mentioned to Devin the other day, I said I loved recruiting him just because he fit exactly all the things that I look for in a young man. Somebody understands the value of his education, understands the work ethic and the demands that this game at this next level places on these kids, and he's been able to handle it, and then be able to go out there and practice and show his stuff, and given an opportunity, he took advantage of it. And now we're seeing that, we made the right choice, and so did he. And, all we need to do is just make sure that Devin recognizes the importance of his leadership and how it inspires his fellow teammates to continue allowing this program to grow. And we've got other kids that are sitting there that might not have the opportunity right now as he has because of the injuries that we've had at that position. But I tell you, I couldn't be more proud of a young man to be able to take advantage of that opportunity. And he has delivered. He's a very solid football player, as you can tell. I tell you, the biggest play that I'm always excited about was that Ohio game where he came through there and that linebacker stepped up and he put his shoulders down and he pulled a bow on that kid and he kept going. And we expect those great things out of Devin. So he's got a bright future, very mature young man, very high-achieving young man, which is what I respect. And certainly it's great to have him, and he comes from a great family.
Coach, could you talk about not only the help, on the field that getting Bo and Dukes back together in the same game will provide, but the emotional lift because, obviously it's probably you're at a tough point right now record-wise, but the emotional lift that Newts and Oliver together out of the field gives your team, especially offensively, heading into a game like this?
Great question, because I think, it's going to bring a lot of confidence, a lot of excitement. We all want our best teammates to be out there competing. These guys are a team. They care deeply about their fellow brothers in that locker room, and to be able to have that, opportunity to get both of them back, who are two of the top producers on our offense, is going to be a great spark for our kids, and that's a good thing because they do care about one another. But it's also to make sure that guys like Devin understand how important his role has been in terms of stepping up and picking up the slack. Just like Derek Brim, we didn't have our starting free safety, Whitney Sherry, playing in the game Saturday. Derek Brim had the second most tackles in the game. John Dunmore. Those guys have done a great job. So it's a team game, and certainly to have those two, Nuts and Bo, back this week, we're going to need to make sure we do a good job getting them through the week, being smart in terms of how much we bang them around and what we do so we can get them to Saturday and they're 100%. How much do they play? I mean, we're going to play them as often as we can, along with all these other guys that have been servicing giving us the kind of play that they've stepped in and done when those two guys have been out. So it's going to be a great lift. We were excited yesterday, I think all of them. And the other guy that who's getting closer, maybe not 100% ready, is Freddie Lee. And Freddie's a very, dynamic young man, and, exciting to have all those guys run around in their pads and their shoulder pads, because they don't do us any good standing next to me, from that standpoint. So it's going to be exciting to have them back.
Devin, can you kind of touch on that as well from a player standpoint? I mean, obviously if Bo's out there, it's taken away from some of your touches, but, the kind of like the emotional lift, getting both those guys back, however they play.
It feels really good to know that Bo and Newts are back together, because I remember in the beginning of the season, our offense was really clicking. It was still clicking when they were gone, but now that we have them both back, and we know that all those people that stepped up before were able to produce, then now we have more offensive weapons than we did before. So now that gives us more confidence going into the games, knowing that we can make plays with multiple people.
Devin, Coach mentioned the run at Ohio. Is there a moment either before the season or during the season that it started to really click for you and the speed of the game started to slow down and you felt like no matter if you were getting touches early or late, it really started to work well?
Yeah, it was during camp. I went out one day, I got hit for the first time and was like, all right, this is it. So, I just adjusted my play and went out and, just paid attention in film and prepared myself to play college ball.
When you watched the film on Northern Illinois, did you take anything from that and then apply it against Pittsburgh and have success with that?
Yeah, we have film study. I went in and learned from my mistakes. Coach Simon did a good job, telling me what I did wrong, teaching me how I can fix it and everything. And, I just went out in the pit game and did everything he taught me to do.
What were most of those mistakes, reads, or what was specifically that you?
It was more reads in my pad level. had to work on my pad level, and I really worked on it in the pick game, and it really, what he says worked. Get your pads down, you get extra yards.
Jeff Moles, I think, is a linebacker for them that has, he's got like 40 tackles more than anybody else on the team. Is that, I mean, isn't that evident in watching?
Yeah, they do a nice job protecting them. They have a very solid front four, and they keep him free. And that's the nice thing about their scheme. They feature him, the middle linebacker, and in their scheme and how they want to operate their defense and stopping offenses. So, but give credit to all those other guys that are surrounding him too. That's provided him opportunity because, look, there's not one guy you can just key in on that defense. I mean, they've got a great free safety. They've got great 3 linebackers for that matter, and a very solid front 4. So it's going to be a tremendous challenge for our offensive line, our tight ends, our fullbacks, to be able to sustain fits. That's been a big part of it too. I mean, Devin brings up the point of pad level. I bring up the point of sustaining that pad level when you're an offensive blocker, and whether you're a receiver, and the same thing in special teams. So, they've done a great job of keeping things, in line to what their overall philosophy is, and that's get their offense back on the field, because that's where they're making a lot more, opportunities in terms of winning games by their offense outscoring people. Defensively, they're solid. So, and then special teams, but he's a great linebacker. I've been really impressed with him and their free safety and their defensive tackle.
There seemed to be maybe a more like West Coast type approach to the pass game the other day, and get the ball in the hands quick. Receivers, was that an adjustment made to help get Alex going? Was that an adjustment made because Gooch was out of the lineup?
Yeah.
Is that where you're going with this, or was that a one game?
No, that's that. You hit it right on the head. It's all those thoughts. You're always trying to find ways to better serve the personnel that you have and the talents that they provide. And that's something that I feel strongly. We wanted to get Alex Ordich in some rhythm. The one thing that I will tell you about Alex Ordich is, not only about the design of the game plan and the quicker throws and shorter throws, is the fact that, when he was in some trouble, he was breaking tackles, and, he scrambled the ball a few more times than we care to see. But, I mean, it was impressive just watching him compete, and it inspires our football team. He was breaking tackles and, doing things that, somebody like him is just a tremendous young man that helps inspire our team. But we need to do a better job of protecting him sometimes, and he's got to have some faith and confidence too in those guys up front, and just sit in there for an extra second or so. He's so confident in his ability to scramble. Sometimes it's nice just to take an extra split second to hold in there before something else develops a little bit deeper and downfield. So, that's all learning, and that's what we're doing. Don Patterson, Alex Wood, my quarterback coach, offensive coordinator, does a great job, putting game plan together, and as all of our offensive staff. But, I felt that, we had the right, plan in place for those guys, and I thought you bring up a great point, because those are things that we got to continue developing for Alex Ordich. I think that's his better. It suits him better from that standpoint, along with his ability to run the ball.
Is there a specific way that he's grown over the course of this year that jumps out at you?
Zordich?
Yeah.
Just, he there's nobody on our football team that wants to get it right more than Zordich. There's a lot of guys that want to get it right. They're, we're not using terms like I told them yesterday, disappointing, okay? Listen, that's not part of who I am. That's not what I'm feeling. I want determination, and just get better. And that's what he does. He watches a ton of film. He spends a great deal of time, understanding what coverages are looking like, where those guys are rotating, and, and how our, routes are developing to attacks. There's always somebody open for the most part. If there's not, then it's probably man-to-man, and now you can take off and scramble, and that's why you see him make those big runs, from that standpoint. But, he tries, every day he works his tail end off, and I feel good that his progress is moving along, and, it's getting better. I think the toughest game that I think he looks back at, we all do, is the Kent State game, and he's improved. Has it been steady? Yeah, it's been steady improvement. Has it been the big, improvement that we all want to see? But that's part of the growth of these young men. He hasn't played a whole season yet. He's still halfway through his, first time starting as a junior, and now he's starting to see it, and he never got redshirted. So, there's another year of development. So we're asking a lot from him, and he's answering that for us, and I think he continues to get better each and every single week, and he gives us our best chance of winning.
Hey, Devin, you and Alex are both from Youngstown. Did you know much about him? Did you know him at all? Was he inspired a little bit by knowing what he did in high school that helped make you decide to come here? I'm just curious, whether there's much of a connection between you guys at all.
Well, we went to rival high schools. So my sophomore year, he was a senior. I actually got to play against him. I played on defense while he was at quarterback. So I knew about him. I didn't know him much, but when I came up here, he was my host on my visit. So I had a guy that I had someone in common with because he was back home. So that helped out.
Toledo beat Cincinnati last week. They lose to Arizona in overtime in their opener. You pointed out that Northern was a point away from being unbeaten. Is this conference undersold on a national level? I mean, is there a lack of appreciation for how good?
Certainly not from me. Certainly not. Not from any coach that's ever coached in this league, not from the players that have competed in this league. Okay, we see it week in and week out. There are some very talented players. There's a lot of good players that play the game of football coming out of high school in this country. When you look at, and the reason why this conference continuously gets better each and every year is because there's a lot of talent out there, and there's just not enough scholarships to go to all the talent. So there's opportunities for schools to attract kids, to give them a chance to come in and play early, play some of the big schools, and that's what these kids want to do. They want to play, and a lot of times your best option is to maybe take an opportunity to go to a Mid-American Conference school where you don't have to, where you can get in and play. We sold that on Devin. We've sold that on a lot of kids, but there's a lot of talent in this league, and there are a lot of quality coaches. And you could see it, you look at Brian Kelly and Butch Jones and Urban Meyer, Nick Saban, some of the best coaches in the country have come through there. So the bottom line is you got to recruit and attract good talent. And when you do, certainly that provides you some opportunities to put together a string of some wins. And, a lot of these teams, especially Toledo's got a lot of confidence to play a team in their state. Believe me, and I coached at Cincinnati. Now, we never played Toledo, but we played some of the MAC Ohio schools. And, those MAC schools get excited about playing, against a Cincinnati. And they had them at home, and, obviously, they were able to come up with a big W. To beat a top 25 team, at your place without scoring a touchdown speaks volumes of, where you're at with your program. And Toledo's done a great job. They've always been a good football team and program, and that's what we need to do. We need to measure ourselves against some of the best, and we've had that opportunity up at this point, and now we get a chance to do it again Saturday. So great programs, great league, it. The biggest challenge for us is ourselves and making sure that we overcome the little things so we can get ourselves in position to win a big game. And this is a big game for us. We all know that, and it's a quality program to do it against a great coaching staff that has been able to show that they can do it through the transition of Beckman leaving to go to Illinois, and now Coach Campbell comes in. So, it says a lot about the attractiveness of this league and the quality of play and the opportunity it does provide coaches and players alike.
What are you working on specifically to generate more turnovers? Coaching guys to strip the ball away? Is it schemes? Is it more blitzes? What gets worked on?
It's all those things, It's hitting. It's separating the ball from the ball carrier, It's striking people, and then when the ball's in the air, competing for it and being in proper fundamental position at all times. It isn't that we don't run drills, and every single week we're running drills. We emphasize it in every single 11-on-11 period that we do, demo squad periods. I mean, we're constantly looking at, getting our kids to understand the opportunity of getting the ball back. But you need to hit too. It's not just about stripping the ball. But it's been frustrating a little bit from that standpoint because, I expected more in regards to takeaways than what we've shown. And we emphasize it. We just need to get that done by a physical and mental determination, toughness, and aggressiveness, and exploding into ball carriers and catching them a little bit off guard. But being opportunistic every single second, I think about every time our defense is out there that the ball's going to get jarred loose. But that's just the positive energy that I think about, and those are the things I want from our defensive side. But that's been holding us back. That's been that and field position and special teams. We're able to move the ball, but we haven't put points on the board, and we've had longer fields, and turnovers have been part of that, and we need to do a better job. And that's the only thing. So I get the record, I get all that, but the bottom line is our team has improved tremendously in a lot of areas. We need to get ourselves a W and against a good team, and part of that's going to be taking the ball away from Toledo.
Don't those come in bunches, though? Sometimes when they come, they seem to come a lot.
I'd like them as bunches as often as possible. I don't, when they happen, it doesn't, but you're right, it's just, I was at Cincinnati my first year. We took the ball away 42 times. 42 times. Number one in the country, and it was in special teams. It was on defense. It was, every opportunity, it was just a group of guys that kind of got that confidence and understood and separated the ball from ball carriers. And it was amazing, I've been doing it for 29 years now, and I look back at that year, we had a lot of hungry guys that were doing it, and that was impressive. But you're right, there was a lot of times that, the turnovers, we'd have 4 or 5 a game, and then maybe only one, but we need to do a better job with our players, and our players need to understand, how important that aspect is, and to be able to do that, you've got to hit harder, we've got to be more determined, and hopefully we can get some this weekend, and that's what we need to do. That's a major emphasis by our defensive staff and our coaching staff.